Well, as we just mentioned, the issue of coal seam gas exploration is shaping up to be a hot political topic in Canberra.
The Greens have promised to introduce a bill to the Senate that would force mining companies to seek the permission of landholders before they can look for or extract coal seam gas. For more, the Greens Senator Larissa Waters joins us now from Canberra. Senator Waters, good morning.
Good morning, Michael. How's things?
I'm very well. Now, how much of this bill is an attempt to help farmers and how much of it is a cynical bid to wedge Tony Abbott?
Well, I can assure you it is all about helping farmers. We've been active on this issue for quite a few years now, and what I've been hearing in the Senate inquiry hearings as I go around the state and the country is a huge concern about the long-term effects of coal seam gas. Now, this is going in on our best food-producing land, Michael, and the companies don't know what they're doing with the groundwater. So the huge concern is that in years to come, we might find there is no groundwater to keep growing food on that land. So our concern is a food security one, and our concern is that these landholders can't say no. They can argue a little bit about compensation, but they don't have the right to actually say, no, I want to keep my land to farm and not have it pockmarked by gas wells with a massive infrastructure footprint of pipelines, overhead power lines, compressor stations. So this is simply an attempt, and we hope to have the support of both parties on this, to give farmers a few more rights to protect their ability to grow food into the future.
How would this work in practice? So would farmers be given the legal right to say no? And I'm interested to flesh out just how it work with the states, because as you know, there are different regimes depending on which state you're in.
Look, that's right, Michael, but the Commonwealth does have the ability under the Constitution to pass laws about this issue, and as you would know, where there's a conflict between state and federal laws prevail. So I'm confident that we have the ability to do this, and this would simply be a very short bill to say that farmers have the right to say no to coal seam gas drilling and extraction on their land. Now, they may choose to say yes if they're satisfied or if they've got good compensation guaranteed that they're not going to stuff up water supplies, then well and good. But this is about saying that the farmer should have the right to choose what happens on their land. So I think this is a pretty simple legal proposition here, and I'm confident that if we have the support of the other parties on this, we can see a better balance here between food security and energy needs.
Do you have any concerns at all about what this might do to the coal seam gas industry, which, as you know, is a much cleaner form of energy than brown coal?
Well, there's a little bit of debate about that, Michael, and I've been taking the companies to task on that, and I'm afraid they haven't yet convinced me that they've got independent research to demonstrate that it's cleaner than coal. But be that as it may, look, I think this is really important that we actually look after our food security here, Michael. We've got a growing world.
At the expense of Australian mining companies creating jobs and furthering Australia's economic prosperity.
Well, look, we have alternatives for energy supply, Michael, but we don't have alternatives for food. And if the coal seam gas companies can demonstrate to the farmer, to their satisfaction, that they're going to be able to keep farming, if they can show that they're not going to damage groundwater resources, then great. Look, I'm sure the farmer will say, let's go ahead, and we won't have a problem with it. The concern is that we don't have that knowledge at this point in time. We're not certain what's happening under the ground with those aquifers and the connectivity, and so we can't be sure that we're not damaging food security into the future. And just on that point, Michael, we have alternatives for energy production. We have wonderful sun in Queensland, where I'm from. We have great wind and tidal and geothermal resources across the country. We have other ways of powering our homes and cities and exporting that technology to the world.
They're not
we don't have anywhere else
term.
to grow our food with. We've just got 4% of land in Queensland, that's rather in Australia, 2% in Queensland, that's considered good quality food producing land. That is so little land. We really need to protect that from any other inconsistent land use.
But when it comes down to it, those other energy alternatives may be very good in the long run, but if, for argument's sake, coal seam gas was to be switched off in large quantities, care of this bill getting up, they're not. You can't immediately go to solar, tidal, whatever, to fill the void created by the departure of coal seam gas, and for the ground coal industries that the Greens are keen to phase out too.
Well, look, I think we can actually do that, Michael. Coal seam gas is still in its infancy. It's not being rolled out yet. It's a few years down the track. And if I can just point out, there's only about 25 to 30 years of life in the coal seam gas industry. It could only ever be a stopgap measure. And the thing is, we're exporting most of it. We're not actually using it to replace coal here in Australia. So we've got our concerns that this isn't being used as a transitional fuel. It's the last gasp of the fossil fuel industry. once again exporting our pollution to other poorer nations who are burning it and destroying all of our climate for everyone. We've got alternatives. Those renewable energy industries are more job intensive. We know that. So it's not a question of jobs versus the environment. We can do both, and that's the wonderful news. We just need to get our priorities right.
Yeah, would you consider going as far as the Liberal National Party leader in Queensland, Campbell Newman, wants to, and that is to basically include in this bill or include open-cut coal mines when it comes to farmers being able to say no?
Well, look, in this bill, we're just going to confine it to coal seam gas, Michael. That's what the opposition leader, Tony Abbott, has said. That's what we want to get the support for to get through the parliament. Not too sure that we'd have support to stop coal mining on our good quality farmland, although certainly we'd like to see that farmland protected from open cut mining, which is absolutely inconsistent with the ability to grow food on that land. But for the time being, we're just going to focus on something that we think might actually get support through the parliament so we can deliver some results to those farmers on those beautiful soils of the Darling Downs and that great land in the Hunter Valley and across New South Wales.
OK, Larissa Waters in Canberra, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thanks, Michael. My pleasure.